We just had the 2001 Lincoln Continental towed in. Check engine light came on. There was a huge noise, like a popping sound. All right, guys, so we're finally taking a look at the 2001 Lincoln. So this is the 4.6 liter 32 valve, so 4 valves per cylinder. We had an issue with the spark plug blowout. So this isn't really a common thing, at least from what I've been reading on the 32 valve 4.6. It's more commonly seen on the 2 valve and the 3 valve Ford motors. So I'm not quite sure if this is something that you're going to see on the higher mileage 4 valves or what the case may be. But just so you guys know, this was on the number 3 cylinder. And again, from doing some research, it looks like that is the most common cylinder to find spark plug blowout on the 2 valve engines. So anyways, I'm going to be showing you guys how to do a repair on the spark plug blowout. Switch the camera around, start showing you guys some better looking stuff than me. And here's the old spark plug that came out of the head. So you can see that would have been bouncing around inside that cylinder or the spark plug bore. And we do have that, normally that cover that sits on top holds down the ignition coils. So basically this had no way to escape, and that was bouncing around inside. So we do have some damage on the head where the spark plug actually seats to. So we're going to have to hopefully have a good bonding there. Otherwise, we may have to use some sealant. We're all going to have to just kind of wait to see how that plays out. But you can see the damage to the end of the spark plug while that was bouncing around inside that bore. And we don't see any damage to the cylinder or the valve. So that's definitely good news on that part. All right, guys, we're going to be attempting to repair that spark plug thread. One thing to keep in mind, and the issue we ran into, is some of these kits, as you can see there, do not have an option of inserting a extension. It's just strictly the 5/8 hex head, same as this kit here from Princess Auto. You can see there it is just strictly a hex head 5/8 socket. So the issue with that is if we take our socket and try to put that down the spark plug hole, it's not going to fit with on the outside of the tool. So what you need, and at least in our specific situation, is going to be basically the exact same tool, but as you can see there, it has the hole in the top, so we can insert an extension, and that way everything will fit down inside. Because the issue is, once we put that tool in there, it's not going to slide down inside. So keep that in mind depending on your application that you're trying to do. If you need to fit down a narrow spark plug tube into an engine, you may want to make sure you have this one here. And the only one I could find with this fitting is actually Save a Thread, and that is made by Helicoil themselves. Now this is a threaded insert, it is not a Helicoil repair, and the reason we're not going with that, here they are here. You can see the Helicoil actually has that little tab on the end that needs to be broken off once you do install it. So the issue with that, again, you're going to be down inside the spark plug tube. How are you going to get down in there, break that tab off, and then also remove that tab without it falling into the engine? So that's why we're not going to go with this. The other issue is these are not known for longevity. A lot of people have issues with these, especially if it's in an application where you're going to be constantly removing the bolt or putting it back in like a spark plug. You're going to be replacing these every 2 to 3 years or so. So keep that in mind. These are nice threaded inserts, as you can see here. That black piece is going to be what we're going to be installing into the engine head. As you can see, nice and smooth, good quality threads on there. So what we're going to use is some red Loctite on that as well. So here's the old spark plug that we pulled out. Definitely mangled up there if the camera will focus. There you can see that. And then I'll get some footage as well on here showing you guys the borescope footage down inside the cylinder. I should have filmed that earlier, but I just kind of forgot about it. So we'll dive into it right now, guys, not waste any more time. And we're going to grab basically this new Save a Thread packaging, open it up, get the tools ready to go, and I'll show you guys, I guess, the step-by-step process. All right, guys, so before you insert this into your spark plug hole, what we're going to do is obviously you want to make sure this is nice and clean. Other than that, we're going to take some hard packed grease and apply it into the flutes of the bit. What this is going to do is help all those aluminum chips and shavings to get stuck to this bit versus falling down into your cylinder bore. But take this extra little step, doesn't take much time, and will save you a much bigger hassle in the long run. And if you get a little bit on the threads, it's not a big deal. It's just going to help and lubricate that cutting. Again, you don't want it caked on there, just enough that those chips will stick on. So once you get that done, we're now ready to insert this into the spark plug hole, and then we can start getting this lined up. Basically, you're going to want to make sure it's nice and straight, and then we'll start doing the initial cut. You can talk if this is recording too, doesn't matter. All right, guys, so it's going to be a little difficult to show you the full process. We're dealing with a front-wheel drive application, and of course, our luck, it's in the back of the engine against the firewall. So it makes it that much more difficult for us to do the repair, but also that much more difficult to show you guys exactly what we're doing, but you're going to get the idea of the process. So basically what we have our specialty tool all greased up with some hard grease that'll attract the filings. And what we're going to do is get this down in the spark plug hole. Now this is definitely the hardest part, is what you're going to do is make sure everything is nice and straight and lined up before you start initiating that cut. All right, guys, so you're going to want to try to stabilize the extension. Make sure everything is nice and straight.
A few moments later.
All right, guys, check that out. So this is why we used, hopefully you can see that. This is why we used that hard grease. See all of those metal shavings in the flutes of the bit? It is just jammed packed in there. If you did not use this grease, it would have fell into the cylinder head or into the cylinder bore and with your piston and your valves. And at that point, you would have to try to get all of that out. Now, I'm not saying there isn't any in there. We're going to put the camera down in and check that out to see. But just look at how much we actually collected here. And at the same time, adding a little bit of that grease onto those threads lubricates them and makes it that much easier cutting and that much crisper of threads. So definitely be sure to do that. So we have the borescope hooked up there. You do not have to use a computer for these, especially the ones I'm leaving down in the description below. You can use a phone. Some of them are wireless. You have lots of different options, mostly using the computer for a bigger screen, especially to help show you guys what's going on here. So what we're going to do is try to get this down in that cylinder or spark plug hole. So already you can see kind of what's going on. This is an older version, so some of the ones I'm leaving in the link you'll see have much better picture quality. So that is the damage around the cylinder or the spark plug hole from when the spark plug was bouncing around in there. So we don't have to really worry about that too much. What we're looking for is over on the side and those brand new threads that you can see there. Quite impressed with the look of them so far. Now I do see you may have some chips in there, but by all means, guys, we definitely have some threads in there now. It looks much, much better than it did. We're now down looking at the cylinder, or the piston, I guess. We're just coming through the spark plug hole here, and that is the top of the piston. So we do have some carbon buildup. That's very normal, especially in a high mileage engine. It looks like we do definitely have some metal shavings. So now you can see clearly we have quite a bit of metal shavings down in there. We're going to want to get all of those blown out. So you can see the grease didn't obviously collect all of them, but definitely collected a fair bit. But we do have lots down there. So you're going to want an air compressor nearby. We're going to get that set up and show you guys how to blow that all out. And then we'll do a re-inspection. So all I have here is actually a little rubber hose and a fitting. If you have an air wand or anything like that, that would be definitely probably the best thing to use. But this isn't bad either, because where it's a hose, it's going to flop around and get lots of different air direction going, causing those chips to hopefully come straight up and out. Now this is why it's so important earlier on when I mentioned you want those your piston at bottom dead center, and that's bottom dead center of the piston you're working on, and having those valves fully closed, because when we start blowing these chips around, you don't want them getting up into the intake or exhaust valves and causing you lots and lots of issues. So with those everything closed up, this should give us the ability to blow some air down there and have them actually fly up and out of the spark plug hole. Now you want to make sure you're using eye protection here. and also try to lay some towels or some things down to collect those chips. You don't want them all over your engine bay. So this is just showing down in the cylinder after we blew it in. So as you can see there, there's no remaining metal chips down in the piston or cylinder bore. So we should be good to move forward onto the next step. We've confirmed that we don't have any further metal chips down there, or very, very minimal, if any. So we're going to move on to now installing the threaded insert. So at this point, we're going to apply some Never Sees to the spark plug itself. You don't want a ton on there, just a slight bit. And we're going to brush that all the way around the threads. You do not want to get this on the end of the spark plug, just on the threads itself. And again, you don't need to go crazy here, just enough that next time we go to remove this, it will easily come out. At this point, we're going to install the threaded insert. Now, hopefully the camera will pick that up. If not, one end has about 3 threads of metal knurled end. So that's actually designed for the specialty flared tool. Once you have that threaded into the hole, you're going to use the expansion shaft, hammer that a couple times on top, and that's actually going to expand that knurled fitting into the head of the engine that you're installing this in. And basically that's going to help allow that to, or basically stop it from backing out or removing from the engine. In this case, where this shaft is too short, we're not going to be able to do that. So what we're going to do is actually use some red Loctite. So first thing first, make sure that knurled end is at the top of the spark plug. We're going to screw that on now. And once that's installed, we can now take our Loctite high temp thread locker. This is meant to be permanent, and we're going to apply this to the threads of the insert. Now, I'm being quite generous with this. All right, guys, we're going to put this down into the engine just like if you were installing a regular spark plug. We're going to torque the spark plug. Recommended is 7 to 14 foot-pounds or 156 inch-pounds. All right, guys, so that spark plug is fully installed with the threaded insert, and it's all torqued to manufacturer specifications. So at this point, we're going to allow that red Loctite to cure. It says about 20-minute soft cure time and 24-hour for fully cured. So what we're going to do is allow the engine to sit for that time period, let that fully cure. We don't want to have any issues with the sealing between the threaded insert and the head of the engine. At that point, I'll bring you guys back, fire this engine up, and see how she sounds. And hopefully, fingers crossed, guys, we've fully repaired this spark plug blowout. And we are ready to finally fire this thing up, guys. So we got Dad in the car. He's going to fire it up. I'm going to monitor everything on the outside. And fingers crossed, guys, everything went well. So let's go. Guys, we just got back with the quick little test drive of the 2001 Lincoln Continental, and guys, it's that simple. Follow those steps to repair a spark plug blowout on any engine. This doesn't matter if it's a snowmobile, ATV, snowblower, any maker model engine. It's the exact same process. The only thing you need to make sure you're aware of is the size of the spark plug. So in this situation, it was an M14 by 1.25. And Save a Thread, made by Healy Coil, sells all different sizes for those as well. So just check that out and basically follow these steps, guys, to save yourself thousands of dollars. The quote we had from Ford was actually going to be just over $1,000 to do the exact same thing we did here. The tool we did purchase, the third tool we did purchase from CarQuest, and it was about $35. Very cheap, $35. Came with the 3 different size inserts. We did use the long one. for this application, but again, it does come with those different sizes depending on what you're looking to do. Otherwise, guys, $35 for the tool and a couple hours overall of work, and you can have this done yourself at home. Again, save yourself a ton of money. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, be sure to hit that like button, smash that subscribe button if you aren't currently subscribing to the channel. And as always, leave your thoughts and comments down below. I love hearing from you and definitely appreciate all of your support. And again, until next time, you guys know what to do. Keep her at full throttle.